They know it's out there, and you know it's out there. Your eyes work. You can see. It's not a postcard. It's straight up the beach. And it's two suns in the sky on the beach. And they trying to hide this from you. And we're going to go to the news story.
Investigate the closure of the National Solar Observatory in Sunspot, which was unexpectedly closed last Thursday with no explanation given. Sunspot is located about 15 miles south of Cloudcroft, New Mexico. Christina Aguaya joins us now with more on the investigation from the New Mexico Mobile Newsroom.
After coming up to the Sunspot Observatory for ourselves to find out why it and the post office remains closed, we found that many officials remain tight-lipped about the reasons. We also ran into quite a few locals and people traveling from out of town, driving straight up to the entrance of the observatory to find out for themselves what exactly is going on.
We heard it was closed and decided to see if it was still closed.
There is a buzz going around in both Sunspot and Cloudcroft over the sudden shutdown.
I don't know what that is. I just heard about that today, some cloak and dagger thing that's going on up there, and I actually have no idea.
Does it concern you at all that the FBI is investigating it?
A little bit.
Okay, now you got two angels in the sky in broad daylight. You got two suns, you got two angels, and they just flying around in broad daylight. They was mistaken for two planes, but two planes don't look like that. And it was mistaken for two birds, but two birds is not that big and fly in that pattern like that. These are two angels in broad daylight flying around our skies. It's the time, and the time is up. And they waiting for a moment. Everybody's waiting on a moment, you know, and that moment has arrived. And we right here, and you're looking at doom. That is what you're looking at. And now we got another woman who filmed a whole horde of angels in the sky right here. So she got a high-powered lens, and she got a dark infrared lens on that, and they all over the place, man. So she pointing to it, and it's all over the place, and it's just angels or spaceships or whatever it is. But whatever it is, we know that these things are coming for us. We know that, you know. And look at them. They scattered all around the sun, you know, all of them. They scattered around the sun, and basically they all different sizes, you know. And they all look at that big one right here. Tremendous, you know. And I'm picking these up on my camera, you know, not as many, but I am picking them up, and I'm wondering what the hell they are myself, you know. And that's why I'm doing this video, man, because basically I could have made it more extensive, and I could have made it more better, and I could have put more effects in it. But why? This is enough right here. And guess what? Another planet right there, right by our sun. That's where they all are. You know, huge planets are in our skies right now. A lot of planets are in our skies, you know, of various sizes, moons, everything is right in our skies. You know, the war is getting ready to happen, people. You know, the hurricane is coming in. You know, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, you know, the people is starting to act crazy. You know, they've been acting crazy, you know. Brother against brother, nation against nation. You know it's all going down right now. And guess what? 3 days of darkness is coming, y'all. 3 days. It said the only sign that's going to be given to us is the sign of what? Jonah. And what was he? 3 days in the belly of the beast, right? In darkness. And guess what's appearing on the horizon? You know, that's not a camera accident right there. That's a strange anomaly in the sky right there. That white spot that you see can't be explained. It's all on my cameras as well, you know. And then right at the bottom, here come a planet. Here come a large planet. Just keep watching. Right there, you see it. You see it right there. Huge ass planet. And like you said, when this war starts, this planet right here is going to eclipse the sun completely. you know, and you're going to be in those 3 days of darkness, and it's sitting right there in plain sight, just like those other planets, just like that sun that was there, that's smaller than our sun. You know, this is end time event shit, you guys, and this ain't no joke. You can see the craters and everything else in this planet, man, and look at the size of our sun in comparison to this. This is that eclipse that's coming. This is the war that's coming. You know, this is every.
Our first video comes from the southeast facing weather cam in Cheakamus Canyon, British Columbia in Canada. It starts out with the moon looking like a comet with a tail. I'm not sure why. The tail then separates from the comet and it fades away. Daybreak comes and the sun appears to be flashing. Notice the landscape going from bright to dark as the sun flashes. The sun appears in the upper left corner briefly with prism-colored rings, odd-shaped objects, and reflections. Just as the sun reaches the top of the screen, it develops a sun halo. Notice the size of the halo in this frame, because in the next few frames we're going to see another sun halo 6 to 7 times larger. Now, 30 minutes of images were just removed from this section. So now we can only see the bottom of this enormous halo. The east-facing weather cam in Angoon, Alaska, shows something rising just above the horizon on the left. It casts its reflection upon the water. It may be interesting to realize that the sun is not in this image because the sun is rising in the northeast in Alaska, not in the east. And this camera is facing east. As we go through the video, look at the timestamp. Nearly 2.5 hours later, the sun appears from the north on the left side of the screen. The object we saw rising 2.5 hours ago was not the sun. It was something else. Here is the northeast weather cam in Angoon. The sun is rising near the center, and off to the right is the other celestial object we just saw rising in the last camera footage we looked at. If the clouds weren't so thick, we would see another celestial object rising to the left of the sun. The northeast facing weather cam captured a black indicator being emitted for an eclipse. These eclipses occur multiple times daily. Here's a common reflection that we see throughout Alaska and Canada, clouds permitting, of course. Notice the sun's reflection on the water. It's often in 2 different pieces. One is the sun, and the other is NASA's tiny but intense artificial light launched many miles from the Earth's surface, which tracks in sync with the sun. You can see the black center of that equipment easily in this image, but the black center is not always visible. This photo from the southwest-facing camera in Myers Chuck, Alaska, shows that black center of NASA's artificial light, and it's casting a reflection on the water. This reflection can be seen by anyone with or without a camera. The northeast-facing weather cam in Eagle, Alaska, picked up a very large, round object. Both the glare and the atmospheric chemicals make it very difficult to see. Look closely and you can see NASA's artificial light pass over it. This object passes in front of our sun but behind NASA's artificial light so that it's not obvious an eclipse is occurring. Since the object doesn't move, it could be one of NASA's large lenses. Here's a close-up of those frames. And here's a close-up with some contrast applied. Here is another enormous object. However, this one is moving with the sun, but not as fast as the sun, as you can see over the course of 40 minutes in this time-lapse video. Here's a close-up view of those 4 frames. And here are those 4 frames with contrast applied to the celestial object. The contrast works much better if sun and clouds are not included in the contrast. That's why I often apply the contrast to a small area of the screen. It really works much better that way. The southeast-facing weather cam located in Kotzebue captured the red planet that we frequently see. This red planet has a much faster rotation than our Earth or Sun. You must have an IQ of at least 75 to understand why this cannot be a lens flare. It is impossible for a lens flare to reflect faster rotations than the object creating the lens flare. Additionally, in the last frame of this video, clouds moved in and covered up the planet. If this were a lens flare, clouds could not cover it up because the lens flare is in the camera and not behind the clouds. Here's an interesting video from the east-facing weather cam in Kotzebue, Alaska. As the sun moves across the sky, the atmospheric chemicals have created somewhat of a veil appearance. It almost looks as if someone has whitewashed the sky around the perimeter of the sun or taken some paint or something. After a few frames, the red planet comes into view. It's very difficult to see amidst the atmospheric chemicals, but some contrast here helps to bring it into view. The objects we have just viewed are part of an approaching celestial system.
I can't, oh, there it is. Shoot. Well, I might have to focus in first and then put the video back on. We'll see. There it is.
It's one of those things that she caught that we decided was probably a meteor streaking across the sky.
Shoot, I can't get the thing still. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Shoot, I can't get it to stay in. Whoa. Well, I'm going to have to keep moving the camera because it's moving at a pretty good clip. This is Becky Lewis in central Indiana, taking a look at something that's over here in the west. And let me see what time. What time is it here?
8:10. 8:10.
What's today's day? Oh, September 11th. Oh my gosh. This is September 11th, 2018 at 8:10 p.m. Facing west from central Indiana.
On September 9, 2018, the NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory SDO captured 2 lunar transits when the Moon passed in front of the Sun. A transit happens when a celestial body passes between a larger body and an observer. This first lunar transit lasted an hour from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., and clouded 92% of the Sun at the height of its journey. The second transit happened several hours later at 21:52 and lasted a total of 49 minutes, ending at 22:41 EDT. This transit only obscured 34% of the Sun at its peak. See the movie here to see how, from the perspective of SDO, the Moon seems to go in one direction and then change direction to cross the Moon again. The Moon obviously does not change direction, but it seems that the SDO's perspective is based on the fact that the spacecraft's orbit reaches the Moon during the first transit. Do you believe in this explanation? The International Space Station camera is watched by many online. It shows a live feed from the ISS, and in the past people have said it has captured UFOs. Recently, one user of YouTube captured footage 7 minutes in length that seems to show a strange encounter took place in space. Two metallic objects approached each other. Someone posted the footage of what they say is an encounter between two objects in space. The video went down well with fans of UFO and the strange. It shows what seem to be two gilded metal objects approaching each other slowly in space. However, it does look like NASA might also have noticed the objects and eventually cut the feed, as they have done before. The encounter between the strange objects occurred directly in front of the International Space Station. People who watched the video capture of the event said that it was weird that NASA did not cut the feed earlier. In the past, people watching the feed have said they have seen something strange, and the feed is abruptly cut off. Artifacts or alien spacecraft meeting. This time the feed was left running for 7 minutes before being cut off. In the first 4 of those minutes, the two objects seemed to be partially transparent. Skeptics were quick to suggest that the appearance of the objects were merely artifacts probably caused by flares from the camera lens. However, after the 4 minutes mark, the objects take on a more apparent full look to them, doing away with the thought of them being artifacts from the camera. It was also pointed out that the objects do seem to have subtle adjustments made to them. For instance, they speed up, the shape of them seems to change slowly, and they light up. Objects seem to have spheres attached to them. Many people who have watched the video are of the belief that what was witnessed was a close encounter between two alien craft. Between the 4th and 5th minutes of the video, a three-dimensional change occurs in the object's appearance when light moves around. It looks like the objects have spheres attached to them. The video has had people drawing many conclusions about what the objects were. One person said they thought the image to the right might be the Hubble satellite, while on the left it might be the Black Knight. Did those on the ISS know the objects were there? What was pointed out was the fact that the speed of both objects corresponded to that of the ISS. As the objects remained in view throughout the video until the feed was stopped, the assumption is that those on the International Space Station knew the objects were there. It is also thought that the craft might have known the ISS was there and had seen it before. Of course, this is not the first time a meeting such as this has been captured by the ISS camera, nor is it the first time someone has spoken up about an alien meeting. Mark McClelland, a former engineer at NASA, said that he had been at a meeting that took place between an alien that was 9 feet tall and astronauts. This meeting was said to have occurred in the cargo bay on a space shuttle. Something similar might have occurred on the ISS. gigantic and metallic object next to the Sun? Is this one of the reasons for the evacuation of the Solar Observatory in New Mexico? Gina Maria Colvin Hill made this astonishing discovery. Here is what she says. September 12, 2018, 8:22 a.m. Salem, Indiana. I have a little more pictures on the left side of the egg-shaped object and all the ships. Are there more things of spiral/frequency attached to the planet/spacecraft? The photo. The National Solar Observatory in New Mexico has been evacuated and locked down. The FBI is involved and they are not telling us the reason. Could it be that astronomers who work at the observatory have photographed something near the Sun or in deep space that must remain secret, or there's something else going, but for now it remains mystery. The National Solar Observatory in Sunspot, New Mexico, and a nearby United States Postal Service office were evacuated for security reasons Thursday, observatory officials said. We have decided to temporarily vacate this facility as a precautionary measure. And we're working with the proper authorities on this issue, Association for Universities for Research in Astronomy spokeswoman Sherry Lofson said. Friday, both properties remained closed to the public, with yellow caution tape around the property. Sunspot is located in the Sacramento Mountains in Otero County, about 15 miles south of Cloudcroft. There is currently a working telescope at the observatory, where New Mexico State University also conducts research. As locals, I feel that we should know what's going on around us, Cloudcroft resident Roger Wiley said. A spokesman for the Otero County Sheriff's Office said they are not involved in the investigation. A post office in the area has also been shut down. Even the post office has not been told why. Right now, what we're told is that they've temporarily evacuated the area. We haven't been told why or when that expires, said Rod Spurgeon, a spokesman with the USPS, reports KVIA.news. According to a commenter at ATS, but for the FBI to get involved that quick and be so secretive about it, there was a lot of stuff going on up there, House said. There was a Black Hawk helicopter, a bunch of people around antennas and work crews on towers, but nobody would tell us anything. What their purpose was, nobody will say.
I wonder what they're gonna announce, huh? Listen to this woman.
Okay, here we're gonna see this morning real fast. This is what was here this morning. Just this disc-shaped object. That was the only thing here this morning, and this right here. And that was at 9:37. And 1 hour later, I said I'd go back out. There is the egg-shaped object.
Same thing I'm picking up, you guys. And she 2 hours ahead of me.
Right there. I don't know why I put it in a video, but I did. Oh yeah, because there's a little UFO up here. There's a little UFO up here. You can see.
So she picking up the UFOs. She picking up the objects to the left of the sun.
Okay.
You know, she picking up that glare right there.
Activity that we're seeing.
Remember that glare I just showed you?
And I don't know what
She's
it was.
picking you up.
Egg shape and all these ships. This was the best photo that I had that had the most detail in it, but I posted these on my timeline, and I tried to get a picture of all the ships that were around it and stuff. And there's gobs of ships out there.
I don't believe they're just ships. I believe they're angels, they ships, but it's something that people was not expecting. The dome is tearing, you guys. The veil over the earth is separating God's country from ours. Look at it, it's ripping right open in the sky. That's a tear in the sky. That's what she picking up on her cameras. A tear in the whole sky. And they go all the ships and tears and angels, and they just waiting, you guys. It's finna go down in a minute. Man, this war finna jump off. Look at it. You could clearly see that it's a sun or something, large craft on the side, and it's highly magnetic, and it's pulling our sun's core to the left, y'all. Look at that. To the left. That's how magnetic it is. It's like affecting the sun. You know, so this is Raptor News. It's not a tear-shaped reflection on the sun. It is something huge to the left reflecting, and look at the reflections at the top and the bottom. That's where the object is, you guys, and that's how big that object is. So, you know, if you ain't got your stuff ready with God, you can keep calling on Christ to deliver you. He ain't finna deliver you right now, and I'm telling you, he ain't gonna deliver you. That's all falsehood. Watch and see what happens. If you ain't calling on the name of the Lord, you're gonna be in some big trouble in a minute. You know, if you don't have
Facility is a massive mental health facility and can hold approximately 2 million people. Now let's review the justification for any actions taken. Executive orders associated with FEMA that would suspend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. These executive orders have been on record for nearly 30 years and could be enacted by the stroke of a presidential pen. Executive Order 10,990 allows the government to take over all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports. Executive Order 10,995 allows the government to seize and control the communication media. Executive Order 10,997 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels and minerals. Executive Order 10,998 allows the government to seize all means of transportation, including personal cars, trucks or vehicles of any kind, and total control over all highways, seaports, and waterways. Executive Order 10,999 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms. Executive Order 11,000 allows the government to mobilize civilians into work brigades under government supervision. Executive Order 11,001 allows the government to take over all health, education and welfare functions. Executive Order 11,002 designates the Postmaster General to operate a national registration of all persons. Executive Order 11,003 allows the government to take over all airports and aircraft, including commercial aircraft. Executive Order 11,004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. Executive Order 11,005 allows the government to take over railroads, inland waterways and public storage facilities. Executive Order 11,051 specifies the responsibility of the Office of Emergency Planning and gives authorization to put all executive orders into effect in times of increased international tensions and economic or financial crisis. Executive Order 11310 grants authority to the Department of Justice to enforce the plans set out in executive orders, to institute industrial support, to establish judicial and legislative liaison, to control all aliens, to operate penal and correctional institutions, and to advise and assist the President. Executive Order 11049 assigns emergency preparedness function to federal departments and agencies, consolidating 21 operative executive orders issued over a 15-year period. Executive Order 11921 allows the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency to develop plans to establish control over the mechanisms of production and distribution of energy sources, wages, salaries, credit and the flow of money in U.S. financial institution in any undefined national emergency. It also provides that when a state of emergency is declared by the President, Congress cannot review the action for 6 months. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has broad powers in every aspect of the nation.